Progress made in Geneva over Iran's nuclear program is in danger of being unraveled even before the sides meet again next week. And no sooner had the current negotiations ended, albeit without an agreement, US lawmakers said they wanted to slap yet more sanctions on Tehran. And it's all on top of an Israeli diplomatic onslaught aimed at killing off what it called, quote, a very bad deal. Let's get more now from RT's Paula Slier joining us live here on the program. Good morning to you, Paula. What is behind the Israeli criticism?
Well, Israel has reacted furiously to the prospect of any kind of deal. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying that the impending deal is bad and dangerous. Those are the words that he used. He says it lifts the pressure of sanctions, which have taken years to put into place, and at the same time it leaves Iran with its nuclear and enrichment capabilities intact. Now, Netanyahu earlier said that Israel would not be bound by any accord and would do what it needs to do in order to defend itself. He cited security as Israel's main concern. Many see this as a hardly veiled threat that Israel might launch its own military strike against Iran's nuclear program. Have a listen to what Netanyahu had to say.
That's a bad deal. It's a dangerous deal because it keeps Iran as a nuclear threshold nation.
We are not blind, and I don't think we're stupid. I think we have a pretty strong sense of how to measure whether or not we are acting in the interests of our country and of the globe, and particularly of our allies, like Israel.
This rhetoric between the Israeli and American leaders shows increased tensions between these two allies. The U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry also saying that the U.S. continues to be skeptical of Iran's willingness to dismantle its nuclear program. And he made the point that the U.S. will keep sanctions in place until such time that the talks have reached a deal. At the same time, though, U.S. lawmakers are calling for new sanctions to be slapped on Iran. And what this highlights is the urgency that many feel is needed for a breakthrough in talks. What we're hearing from U.S. lawmakers is that they will pursue a package of tough new sanctions on Iran. So that happening on the one side, while on the other side you have attempts at some kind of diplomatic breakthrough.
Well, you talk about some type of a diplomatic breakthrough, Paula. The deal this time around, it seemed so close. Many diplomats hailing the progress that was being made. What went wrong at the Geneva meeting?
Well, the deal certainly did seem close. What, however, happened was that France objected strenuously to any kind of proposed deal that was on the table, and they said that it would do too little to curb Iran's uranium enrichment program or stop its development of a nuclear reactor that would ultimately be capable of producing plutonium. The French foreign minister stressed that he would not accept what he called a weak deal with Iran. Now, the biggest obstacle appears to be the future of Iran's plutonium reactor at Arak. And this could ultimately provide another route to making nuclear weapons. The facility is currently being built. It is due to be operational next year. Alongside this, though, there are talks that are being slated to be held in the next 2 weeks, and that is in a bid to end this current standoff.
RT's Paula Slier, live in Tel Aviv. Thank you. Now, the failure to reach a temporary deal is largely being blamed on Paris, whose roadblock certainly took Washington by surprise. Iran's supreme leader rallied against this on Twitter, going against the French. He described their move as imprudent and inept. But political analyst Saeed Mohammed Marandi, he says the U.S. still has the upper hand in the talks.
Some believe that the French are in coordination with the United States, and it's a sort of good cop, bad cop combination. Some believe that the French are, the current French government is very close both to Israel and the Saudi regime, and that they have a great deal of influence. But it's very difficult to imagine under any circumstances the French really standing up to the United States. At the end of the day, if the United States is adamant that a deal should be struck, I think that the French will fall in line.